Microsoft Azure is a great place to run all your enterprise Java with Oracle WebLogic Server on Azure virtual machines. We have a selection of offers in the Azure Marketplace to choose from. These offers accelerate your journey to the cloud by jump-starting the process of lift and shift from on-premise WebLogic to WebLogic on Azure VMs. The offers can be configured to easily integrate into best-in-class cloud services, such as Azure App Gateway, Azure Active Directory, and several databases, such as Azure PostgreSQL and also Oracle Database. You can run your Oracle database inside the Oracle Cloud or on Azure directly. If you run it inside the Oracle Cloud, you can trust that the high-speed data interconnect between Azure and the Oracle Cloud will give you the most responsive connection possible. Let's get started by trying the cluster offer. Once you click on Get It Now, you're taken to a page where you can configure your deployment. In this experience, you can configure all of the different settings for deploying WebLogic Server to Azure virtual machines. You start with the basics, choosing your resource group and number of nodes to be in the cluster. You can also choose the size of the virtual machine that will be deployed for the cluster nodes, including the admin server. You can provide the credentials for the creation of the VMs and also the WebLogic administrator. You can tune what ports will be exposed in the network security group. And now, in this section, we can choose all of the different service integrations. Let's start by taking a look at the database. You can choose the database type, and regardless of which type you configure, you can put in the connection strings and JNDI names here. You can configure the connection to Azure Active Directory on this tab. You can fill in the values to a pre-created Azure Active Directory provider, and this will cause the WebLogic server to be integrated via LDAP so that the Azure Active Directory credentials can be leveraged in Java EE applications. The Azure Active Gateway is simply enabled or disabled, and if you turn it on, it will cause the application gateway to be stood up in front of the cluster. This is the WAF v2 or later SKU, and it will provide a public IP and automatically provision a backend pool consisting of the worker nodes in the cluster. Further configuration may be necessary after deployment, for example, for health probes that are fine-tuned to your specific application. For logging, you can provide a connection to Elasticsearch service on Elastic Cloud with these credentials here. And there's also possible to turn on caching with Oracle Coherence or several other caching options. Let's take a look at the deployment once it happens. Here we have a 3-node cluster that has been deployed with Azure Virtual Machines. And you can see that it has one node MSP VM1 and 2 others that were added later. There is another deployment where you can add nodes to the cluster through the Azure portal as well. We also have configured the database in this case. So if we go to Services, Data Sources, we can see there is a pre-configured database here, and it's already deployed to talk to the different nodes in the cluster. And we have a front-end Azure Application Gateway load balancer here. So when we hit this public IP, we can see that there's no additional port that you have to put in. So it's using the load balancing rules that we've set up on the Azure Application Gateway.